Oh,
Really don't
okay.
need mic. All right, welcome everybody. This meeting is called to order at 1:07 p.m. Please note that the meeting is video and audio recorded and all electronic meetings are uploaded on the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeliness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. I will now read the township's recognition statement. The township is currently developing a formal land acknowledgement statement, which we'll be discussing later. We recognize that the first Euro-Canadian settlers arrived in what is now Pleasant Township. The Anishinaabe, ancestors of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, had long established hunt camps in the area. Through written and verbal accounts, we understand the Anishinaabe interacted with the settlers in a friendly and cooperative manner. It is acknowledged that the development of the township encroached upon their traditional way of life, resulting in their displacement. I will now do a roll call of those in attendance. I'll just go from the far end to the near. Lily?
Here.
Christine?
Right.
Andy? Here. So, and Josh would be absent. Okay. We'll now take a moment of reflection. Okay. Confirmation of the agenda. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda that any committee member would like to address? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask Laura to read the resolution.
That the Heritage Advisory Committee approves the September 11th, 2023 agenda as circulated.
We have a mover.
All of that.
Great. And second. All in support? Carried. And our next agenda item is disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Do any committee members have a conflict of interest based on the agenda that we have in front of us today? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the next agenda item. Do not believe we have any delegations for today's meeting. We'll pass through that one and we're into the consent agenda. Of the three, 7.1, 7.2, or 7.3, are there any agenda items that any of the committee members would like to pull out for discussion? Yes. 7.3? Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
Just if it could be sent out to us when it's received, because this is the spring edition.
I don't envision that being an issue.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we'll likely send it out through email to you, but it'll also hit an agenda.
Of course.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, thank you. Good point. Anything else, folks? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll ask for a resolution to accept these three consent items as provided with the noted amendment that Lily had identified.
That the consent agenda items listed for the September 11th, 2023 Heritage Advisory Committee meeting be received for information. And that we will send out the CHO news when we receive it.
So we had Lily and seconder. Carrie, or all in favor? All right. Committee reports. So we had item number one, a committee report from myself, a brief overview of the Just going to that on the agenda of the Heritage Conference that both Lily and I attended in early June, from my recollection. Did we want to have a discussion on any of that, or just that it's in the meeting notes and that's good? Okay. Any comments on that before we look to approve it? I think we did have some good action items coming out of that, so we can discuss those at a later point. So, there we go.
That the committee memo entitled 2023 Ontario Heritage Conference be received for information.
We have a mover. The seconder and. All right, all in support. Very carried. All right. Committee memo 8.2 from Lily. Similar feedback. Any comments before we look to approve it? Lily, from your perspective?
There is a memo and she just did give us a presentation. We were not aware of that though prior to.
Oh, that's what's written in the memo is that I will present, if that's acceptable.
So then the presentation will capture in new business. Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay, is that good? All right, approve that one.
Okay. That the committee memo entitled Review of June Ontario Heritage Conference be received for information.
The mover in seconder, Christine, all support. Carried. All right. Agenda item 8.3, report HER 2023-017 designation process update. I will turn it over to Laura to provide us a brief update.
So the purpose of this report is to move forward on the heritage designation request and then to provide an update on the priority property listing as seen in supporting materials and schedules A through S for this report for designation.
Question.
Are we dealing with, like, are we making any decisions about churches? In this report?
If you would like.
No, I just need to know if that, or is this all for information? Just because I have to declare a conflict of interest if we make any decisions about churches. So I was just unclear about, is this just review? Is this matter that I'm sitting at the table?
Yeah, I'll refer that to the clerk.
So to you, Mr. Chair, I think that the report has all the properties listed in the supporting materials. So my suggestion would be, if you do have a conflict, we'll need that in writing, and I can get you the sheet so you can fill that out. And then we'll have to make note of it, in the conflicts at the beginning of the meeting there. And then what we can do is pull out those specific properties and we can vote, have the committee vote on them separately, so you can still vote on the majority of the properties.
Okay. Sure.
So I think that should be fine. We've got a due process, and basically what we'll end up doing is maybe paraphrase Courtney's comments. We'll do them as two chunks. We'll do
Okay.
ones that you have
Yeah.
a conflict and you can just remove yourself from that decision, and then ones that you don't have a conflict. As a committee member, we would look for you to vote on those.
Sure.
Is that clear?
Yeah, because I mean, I can remove myself from all of them, if that's necessary, but, okay.
And the reality is a number of the early ones going through will be churches to some degree, not exclusively. So I think we can manage that as a kind of a part A, part B type of thing.
So to you, Mr. Chair, committee members' presentation relates to these designations.
No, it's just, I'm giving a visual of the meeting in June.
Oh, okay. Okay, understood. Sorry, I just was concerned about delaying that till after, but that's.
Yeah, related to this.
You don't want to.
There anything else?
Black and white.
Oh, but you can.
No, I have it open. I could have just sent that to you. So I can kind of things.
to just pull them. You need just to do a quick. Maybe, we could just say one last final version before. Okay. So maybe one thing before we look to, approve report HER 2023-017. We do have a few minor amendments probably to make just in terms of terminology and language there. So I think what we'll look to do is, look to approve Laura's report. And then it's subsequently, at our next committee meeting, I think we should have those cleaned up and ready to formalize. At that point, we can identify we can address the potential conflicts. And before we finalize and get things out of a fair way of approaching it.
Or do we want to have them before council?
Through you, Mr. Chair, when's the next committee meeting? We just don't want to delay just given the very tight timeline we have, to get these designations done, and they have to go to council next. So
So why would we delay? Like, I can give you my signature. We already know, we've already consulted with the lawyer. We know that that's necessary. I can sit out for that portion.
I think we're talking more or less
Oh, okay.
the amendments that we're making.
And for revisions to the current statements.
Guys.
The next meeting is November 6th. So that it.
If it helps, Mr. Chair, staff are prepared to make those amendments today and work it through with the committee so that we can advance it to council.
Okay, that'd be my preference, because I think November delays it, so. Let's take that approach, and then we'll just go through the specific addresses that are religious affiliations, and we can make those edits. So do we want to park 8.3 for a minute and work through the rest of the agenda?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll park 8.3 until we can make those amendments. We'll transition to agenda item 8.4, which is a report HER 2023-018 2024 budget requests, and we'll have Laura provide us a brief update on what those are.
So the purpose of this report is to provide the committee with updated 2024 budget requests that have been received around additional support staff, peer reviews, advertising for designations, as well as the Orton Black family plaque.
Just looking forward to the briefing. Right at the end.
Yes.
So a couple things just to maybe explain this a little bit for the committee members. Proposed for the 2024 budget will be approximately $3,500 in additional staff support, which would be a part-time individual employed January through May of 2024 at approximately 10 hours per week. I think any co-funding or funding allocations that could be gotten through grants, I think will be addressed later. Post that, but there's probably all the potential for some grant funding. The second item being $1,500 for peer reviews of the draft statements of the cultural heritage value of interest. And I believe, correct me if I'm misspeaking, Laura, that would be for a heritage consultant.
Correct.
To go through those particular documents that are prepared as a second set eyes prior to them being formalized. That's a common process that the municipality goes through. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The third piece is advertising for heritage designations, $11,000. Those are in the prior year's budget. As part of the Bill 23, I believe there's requirements to post the heritage, excuse me, designations in a public forum, so think like Wellington Advertiser and the such. Of $11,000. I think the one thing I would share is I think there had been discussion around what that may look like in terms of potential cost savings with other municipalities. I think we're still trying to best understand what that looks like. Correct me, Courtney, if I'm misspeaking. I would say $11,000 would be our high water mark. Maybe potential cost savings there, but I think from a budget standpoint, 11,000 would be the number we look for in terms of our max spend. Is that fair? And then the last piece that Laura noted is the Black and Ward family plaques of $2,200, which are heritage plaques. Any questions of the committee members for any of these budget line items at all that you would like further explanation on or clarity? Okay, hearing none. I think we're good then, Laura. You can walk us through the motion.
That staff report HER 2023-018 regarding the 2024 Heritage Advisory Committee budget request report be received for information. And that the Heritage Advisory Committee endorse the proposed additions to the Heritage Advisory Committee's budget as presented.
We have a mover. Andy, seconder. Kristen. All in support? Period. Okay. Our next agenda item is 8.5, which is report HER 2023-019 goals and objectives training. And Laura, can you walk us through that?
The purpose of this report is to provide an update regarding training on how the committee set their goals and objectives. Mainly that the goals and objectives have to be committee-led initiatives and then meet the criteria set out in the report.
Thanks, Laura. So I think maybe one thing I'll just comment on would be, you know, as part of the committee, we're in year one of a 4-year kind of government cycle here. So I think ultimately in year one, from my perspective, we've identified a number of properties within the municipality that we feel are important for heritage designation, and we've started the process down there. I guess my challenge to each of the committee members moving forward would be there is an established process to identify goals and objectives for this committee, and I would encourage you, even not for today, but into the future. We've got a 3-month run until the end of this kind of government cycle. So if there are specific goals and objectives that you feel are pertinent to incorporate into our work plan into the future, that best serve the heritage aspects of our community, I would certainly encourage you to identify those, and staff are very open to amending our goals and objectives of the committee over the course of time, and there's a formal process to do that so that it's transparent and it goes through the appropriate processes. So I just want to make sure that was well understood. Is there anything to add to that? Anything? Okay, good. So just that there's a goal and objective training, and once they're established, basically we go through that process, and everybody has the opportunity to review those. So I guess over to you, Laura, for the motion.
That staff report HER 2023-019 regarding committee goals and objectives training be received for information.
We have a mover. Seconder. And all in support. Carried. Last report. Agenda item 8.6, report HER 2023-020 goals and objectives. We just approved the process. Now we'll talk about the goals and objectives. So over to you, Laura.
Yeah, so the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the goals and objectives and to seek an appointment of an individual to the engagement subcommittee.
Okay, and the report was in the briefing package here. So a couple things that had been in the goals and objectives, specifically the the Heritage Register in reference to Bill 23. Excuse me. The Doors of Puss Lynch program. A number of engagement opportunities through social media and the various heritage pages. Excuse me. And then the Heritage Summer Student Objective, which we incorporated into the budget that we discussed previously. So I think for the near term, that would be our goals and objectives for this committee. That noted, if we choose to amend those through the due process, we're certainly able to over the course of time. Any questions on those before we look for a motion? Again, I really want to reemphasize, this is kind of year one of a 4-year process. We would really, like my goals would be for this committee is that we build on these moving forward and that they aren't just static goals and objectives. Okay, Laura.
Do we want to appoint someone to the?
Oh, yes, sorry, that was a little. Can you maybe just explain what the appointment would entail in terms of time commitment, and so that maybe some of our committee members would have a better understanding of what this looks like?
Yeah, in the past, we discussed that the person on the engagement subcommittee would be expanding the Engage Plus Challenge on the Heritage page, any sort of in-person engagement opportunities that we have surrounding the Heritage Committee or the Heritage designation process. And then if we wanted to maybe boost our social media in terms of the Heritage Advisory Committees. So I wouldn't say it's a big time commitment. If anything you want to add, Courtney, feel free to.
So it looks like, through you, Mr. Chair, it looks like the last 3 engagement opportunities as discussed were increasing social media, in-person engagement opportunities. So the open house that we had, I thought went very well. We had a great turnout with that. And like Laura already said, our Engage Plus Lynch website is probably underutilized at this point. So exploring what that could look like.
Okay.
Just sort of increasing the awareness of the heritage initiatives and any sort of education that's happening in the township.
I guess I would look to the 3 committee members. All right. Any of you interested in this engagement? I guess I won't pigeonhole you into it, but if there's a degree of engagement, we'd be happy to have you. So who was on it previously?
I think it was through Mr. Chair, yourself and committee member Chris. So
Yeah.
since he's resigned, we just have the one. Member.
So it would be in addition to me. Fair enough.
I wouldn't want to take the opportunity.
Anybody else? Good.
Just for clarity, the committee's requesting that it be deferred until we have another member appointed. Is that what I heard? Or just until our member who's absent is in attendance? Both?
Yeah, I think maybe, I can certainly continue to do that, as a committee of 1 plus a vacancy. And, if we can for our November meeting, hopefully we'd have a new, appointee at that point as well. Josh would be here, so I think that might be so I think in the near term, I'll serve in that role. We can address it, and then we'll fill that our subsequent meeting, if that's okay from a process standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll capture that.
Or if you just simply say that the committee defers this until a future meeting date.
Alrighty, so that resolution would be that staff report HER-2023-220 entitled 2022 to 2026 goals and objectives update be received for information, and that the Heritage Advisory Committee's engagement subcommittee members be moved to a future meeting for discussion.
Good. We good with that? All right, can we have a mover? Seconder. Kristen. All in support? All right, carried. Okay. That is 8.6. Agenda number 9, correspondence, or do we have any correspondence to report on?
None.
And item number 10, any announcements? Do any committee members have any announcements they would like to make? I don't. Staff, do we have any announcements that coming from the municipal level? Okay. Notice of motion, do we have anything there?
No.
Okay. Lily, item number 12 is new business, so I'll maybe turn the floor over to you for discussion.
I just chose to put my information into short. This is the handout that they got, so that's the first page there, and a little bit of pictures instead of just words and numbers. And a lot of slides, so I won't take too long with it, but I had never been to London as a tourist, so it was kind of nice to take that opportunity. I felt that they did a really good job at first. I did. The organizers were a combination of the university professor, the Architectural Conservancy Ontario, and the City of London, the planners there, were the three main people. They put together a really nice, I guess, 3 days total of events for everyone. The delegates I had asked afterwards, so there's over 200 people that attended. Usually it's a little lower than that, but it combined heritage planners, counselors from other cities and towns, consultants, the ACL members, municipal heritage committee members such as myself, other architects and potential practitioners that were there. I ran into some people that did training for heritage consultants and other people that have run for council and now on the heritage committee. So there was quite a diverse group that attended. So next slide, please. I took some pictures and I felt that they had done a nice job of showcasing the heritage of London. It is also known as the UNESCO City of Music, and on the dinner that we had at the old courthouse, they had someone come and speak to us about that. Unfortunately, their mic system wasn't great, so I can't really tell you what he said. But the first night they had the event at Chaucer's, which was built in 1854. And they also did a pub crawl. I did not attend that, but there's a book that they based that on. So it was using the heritage of the pubs in the area. Much was available with walking distance. So I got some steps in. The lunch on the second day was at the Eldon House, which is also a heritage building and now owned by the city. And there was numerous signs up throughout, which I'll discuss a little bit later, with the heritage districts, historic districts that they had, and postings and things like that. The final day was held at the 100 Kellogg Lane, which is the former factory for Kellogg's from 1925 to 2014. They had converted it, so it's considered adaptive reuse. And it's actually fantastic to see the scale of the factory in there. It was on the right-hand side of that picture, it's the indoor climbing area, which is apparently a world record. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but it was quite fantastic to see and to walk through what used to be the manufacturing floor and to see the use. It's multi-use, so different sections are markets outside. They have vendors coming every week. They have a hotel. The Hard Rock Hotel is just being built, or possibly is by now. And they have office space and the artisan bakers market. So they have people come in and show their artwork, and they have judging fairs like that. One thing that we made, the next few things are from the sessions that I attended. Some of there's a bit of overlap, so this was also in the opening statements as well as some of the people that made this happen. So this here in London is a derivative of what started in Wisconsin through the universities, I believe. The sign on the right, the top there, is posted throughout the city, and there's a phone number you can call with a certain story. They are limited to 2 minutes. They've done their studies and decided that that was a good amount of time to keep attention. And it's oral history that they're looking for. So they have first person, mostly first person, not completely. So walking through the township, you can do your walks and look up the stories of what happened at that location, memories that people have. And interesting is, the thing is to me that the Guelph Arboretum has just rolled it out. So the website was, or they had just started around June. They now, I looked at the site the other day and they have 15 stories now. They're using QR codes, and that bottom sign there on the right hand is their signs that are throughout the Arboretum. The initiative for this took several people or 7 different levels of people within the town. They needed permission to put up the signs, and within the library, they had the housing. They actually have some tapes of original stories that they have as well, and they have materials stored there. Possibly something to look at for us. That was one of the sections. The Vision Soho Alliance project was also part of the official ceremony, and also another session that I attended. This is a combined effort, and 2 of the buildings on this decommissioned hospital site, the Victoria Hospital in Soho, which is south of Portland neighborhood, built in 1875. Those 2 buildings are heritage buildings, and they've added 5 other ones. So the City of London now owns the property, and they had put out bids, and what they received, and I believe it ended up being just their 1 bid for it, was a combination of 6 different, what are their nonprofits? Yeah, 6 different nonprofits, and there's 7 different projects happening in the 7 buildings that are taking place. The 2 heritage ones are being developed by Indwell and Visage Architects. They actually have a presence around here as well. And one of the Indwell ladies actually spoke, and this is her comment of her finding is that adaptive reuse costs less than new construction. She has a nice chart of the comparisons of maybe dozen or so projects, and they always come out less. The discussions that I heard or that he was telling us about was that the condition of those 2 buildings, through neglect, there was so much damage to the basement, might be kind of something that 880 Victoria might come with. So it kind of hits home, and it's very common, I guess, throughout the reuse or adaptation of buildings. One other presentation was on the discourse of the traditional front porch. This is by a fellow named Helen Stacy, who has a conservation practice in Dundas. I put his credentials here. I didn't get any snapshots, but he was doing comparisons before and after, and walked through several projects that he had done on the exterior of the properties and returning them as much as possible to their original state. He works with, he's actually has a city guilds diploma from England, and he's a preservationist, so he makes what he can. I guess the tendon there, he's done. But they'll do doors, and so I think he's a good resource for what can be done if we needed to come to anything. But it was very interesting to see his take on before and after, so the work involved. This, I believe, is one that Russell attended, the Municipal Heritage Planning Panel that discussed. We actually had the Ministry of Citizen Multiculturalism present, and they were responsible for those policies that come out, at least the documentation of them. The City of Hamilton had a cultural planner present, City of Guelph's Heritage Planner was there, Toronto's Planning Division. I think they had like 200 people on their staff. And so they were all larger cities, as Russell had mentioned, and they had staff to deal with, but they also have a ton of those properties to deal with. The audience was more diverse and more akin with what we are used to, was some were actually smaller than Bristol. There, one discussion that I took note of was that it is easy to miss the deadlines, perhaps more if you have more people and more staff. They have in the past missed the 90-day mark and had to start all over again in the process. And one of the comments that they said was that you need to read the Heritage Act of the Planning. It's a collaborative thing to get it through. This section was called New Technologies for Historic Purposes. I couldn't bring the models with you, but they did show us some of the videos that they took with drones and how they wove together the mesh of the 3D modeling, put a skin on top of it. Seems a little far-fetched to us for needing it. I'm sure there's a nice expense to it, but it could be taken in perhaps with remote. If we're looking at putting into some sort of a heritage inspection that we need to do, it's possible to take this and have a good comparison of one to the other to see what's done or that there's been neglect or something in there. They actually did show us some videos, that was kind of neat. Another part to that discussion was the assignments that some of the university professors are giving their students, similar to the here, London has and that the Arboretum has. Their challenge is given to design a walking tour using sort of a mobile digital platform. I've listed some of the ones that were mentioned there. And they, because they're a university, they are somewhat available to grants. Yes. Talking about this, heritage grants and property tax reductions, they had a panel of 3 people, one from Collingwood, one from Tay Township, and one from Peterborough. I have their contact info, and I thought I would get the presentation, but I have not as yet. They worked with the tax relief or grants or both, which has done that. The Collingwood offered a 10% rebate on the project. Their budget is $50,000, and they require them to apply annually and pass an inspection. They currently have 39 properties that participated last year, and they also do a grant portion, and they have something called a historic district. The Tay Township doesn't use the grant portion, but they have tax relief, and Peterborough also has tax relief and grant portion. And the Peterborough mentioned the non-designated versus the designated in a comparison of properties. The designated actually value assessed higher, so that might be information that our homeowners might be interested in hearing. And this tax relief process, all 3 of them agree that it had better, people were more interested in utilizing the funds and more buy-in to the program with the tax relief. Next. Okay, so my summary and takeaways are that potentially with engagement for Crossland community, possibly working with the university to do something like we're here, or some sort of technology supported tours such as those assignments that the university passed without to do either. And our area is wider than so driving, drivability, walkability, perhaps rental scooters, something to consider. The comment that Inkwell made that adaptive reuse costs less than construction perhaps is something that we could consider, and that designated properties value higher than non-designated. And also your things were also to historical conservation district might be something our township could use, and take away that supporting heritage homeowners with a tax rebate and a grant to encourage them also to do property maintenance. I think the one thing that I heard them say was that they did inspections of other towns before they allowed the rebate to just to make sure that they are maintaining property and that they can qualify for the program continue. And that I think in our open house, some folks seem to be concerned that they weren't able to find resources. So to come up with some sort of a directory of that ongoing living thing, maybe not doors, but at least available to people that have used in the past that homeowners can use for their repair.
Great, thank you, Lily. That was fantastic. That was very thoughtful and a lot of great information. Maybe open it to the floor. Would be questions for Lily?
Oh, one thought. I do recommend it, if that was your recommendation as well. And part of my reasoning was to get more people interested. There weren't too many hands up in London. Dragonhurst was next. They did have a little club for it. So we spoke up. I don't think the dates are defined, but it would be cheaper.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I attended the one day, I think it was Friday off the top of my head. I thought it was really good. And I like the idea that there was concurrent sessions, so you could kind of pick ones that I thought were applicable, and I quite like that. I think I went to a workshop in the morning and it was really good. Just to, again, as somebody that's new to heritage, it's all new to me type of thing, but I thought that was a great opportunity. So, you know, from a recommendation standpoint, I would really encourage participation in the future. We have budget to do these type of things, to invest in committee members' knowledge and education. So I would very much encourage that. I think if the opportunity fits into my work schedule next year, I would certainly look to go. I thought it was really good. So maybe a couple comments, maybe a few action items I want to tease out of this, because I think it's worthy of further conversation. I think the first one would be heritage tax reduction for those properties that go through that. And again, I don't want to, it's not our place. We make recommendations. We don't make decisions type of thing. But I think that's something that I don't want the concept to be lost. And maybe if I can of staff, I would attempt to make a recommendation and certainly encourage you guys to build on this would be Courtney, at your peer level within other CAOs within Wellington County, I'm curious if you could follow up with any other municipalities within your peer group to examine if they have undertaken any of these type of heritage tax rebates specifically within Wellington County. Maybe not exclusive, but I think that's typically where the next I guess that the higher tier, the lower tier, high tier collaboration and at probably maybe our November meeting, if we can have just a report, Laura, to some degree on what that looks like. I quite like the concept. I think we need to think it through from a budget standpoint, and as council, we're just going through that 2024 budget cycle now, so I'm not sure it'll sync for that. But I think if I would look at what can we do for our collective community moving forward, let's put in the homework of looking at this in a bit more robust manner of what it may look like for our municipality. And maybe my hope would be that potentially for the 2025 tax season moving forward, that would be something that this committee could recommend to council for further consideration. Maybe I'll look to you, Courtney. Does that seem like a reasonable request from your vantage point?
So through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question, and I would make a suggestion because I've made note of it. One of the takeaways from staff from that presentation as well. Some municipalities were using tax relief in addition to grant funding. Some it looked like just tax relief. So staff right now have been tasked by council to look into a CIP program for heritage, which would involve grant funding. In addition, I think it's worthwhile to look at what a tax relief program would offer either in addition or instead of. So we can staff can take that away and certainly report back. It would be my suggestion that we report to committee and council simultaneously on this. My thought is council is going to want endorsement from the committee regardless. But in any event, as we're trying to get properties sort of incentivized to sign up for voluntary designation, if we could offer this, within their 2-year time period that Bill 23 said, we may get more properties interested. So I agree it may be something down the line that we implement, but if we had that endorsement from committee and council, that would be great. So as long as that's all right, Mr. Chair and committee, that we sort of do it simultaneously with committee and council reporting back.
That seems fair, and I guess maybe, and correct me if you disagree with this. I view these as two attributes of a larger heritage commitment. One would be potential grant funding, and this was discussed at the last council meeting. Just maybe a bit of background. If a commercial property is looking to do some, I'll say visual upgrades, and I think Courtney, maybe you can explain. There has been a couple in Morriston that have gone through this process in the past couple of years. And that's a combination of township funding, county funding, I believe, maybe additional that you can clarify, but it had been exclusive to commercial properties. And so what we would look for is further examining what potential funding would be to maintain or enhance heritage attributes in residential properties is one piece, is kind of one bucket, if we will. The other one would be the tax incentive. And I guess the one significant difference in my mind would be the grant funding would be one-time project specific, project completed, that grant funding ends, whereas the tax benefit would be in perpetuity each tax assessment year, as long as that property was maintained on the heritage registry. So I guess I view them both as like incentives, but quite different in terms of, the longevity of them versus project-based versus long-term. Does that, I don't want to be rambling here, Courtney, but that would be my take on it. Is that fair from your, like, from an administrative perspective, within the municipality? So I guess I heard at the council meeting, we had discussed around project-based funding, but there hadn't been discussion around, tax reductions, or however you want to, maybe the right technical term for that. But I guess, like, committee members, I'm looking for guidance here. My take is that we would look for both of these to progress simultaneously. Does that make sense?
The taxes. Personally, I think the taxes will have more hit, more impact, I guess.
I think so, but I would also think the grant is an easier cost to control looking for budget. So it may be that one is more desirable than the other. Both would be best, but one may be easier to implement initially.
I mean, the tax is also, if you do the inspection, the new person seems to be, makes sense to make sure that you inspect them if you're getting the test. That's going to be a bit more intensive business. Or it's
Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I might, I think I see them both to, Mr. Chair's point, an incentive for different processes. The incentive for tax relief is to sort of work with the township to get your property designated. I see the grant funding as an incentive when you are looking at projects to make sure they come through the proper process and get the right permitting, because there may be funding available.
Yeah, sure.
I think those are good. Any builds on any, that recommendation with two subsets?
okay, so I think if we can just summarize before I'll have a transition over to you, Laura. We're looking to move or recommend moving forward and further understanding what this may look like for the municipality. Part A being the grant funding on a project basis. And the second would be further understanding what a tax deduction on designated heritage properties may look like, and process, and to talk to like-minded municipalities so that we can have a report back with a bit more granularity for further robust discussion. We would look to do that simultaneously, specifically the grant funding with council as they're going through that budget cycle. I'll stop there. Stay tuned for a further report.
Okay. So then the resolution would be that the Heritage Advisory Committee received the Ontario Heritage Committee June 2023 presentation by Lily Clamer as information, and that staff will provide a report regarding support for designated properties through CIP, grants, and or tax rebates to a future Heritage Advisory Committee meeting. Does that sum it up?
Got Lily, seconder. Kristen. All in support? Period. Good, thank you for that. I think that's a really positive thing for the community. And then Laura, you had a piece around the National Trust Conference for new business. Gonna maybe
Yeah, so
have
we
you speak to
realized
that?
that at the May 1st, 2023 Heritage Advisory Committee meeting, the committee did approve that Christine and Lily would attend the National Trust Conference in Ottawa, October 26th to 28th. So we just want to ensure that you guys are still able and want to attend, or if we should. If we should. Yeah, the 2 weeks, the last weekend of October. Or actually, it's not Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It is 26th, 27th, 28th of October is the conference.
Well, if it's anything like this on the Thursday, then it's just kind of a get together and get a drink.
So much
Friday's the day.
And I don't think I can do it. I have another conference I get from on Wednesday night. And I do have a day job that I need to appear at occasionally, so.
Is there a registration deadline that we did?
There's an early bird deadline, September 15th, so this Friday.
I do have it on my calendar.
Okay, okay.
But I recommend next Tuesday.
We can have just one person attend, if
So
that's an option.
maybe, if, I'm not sure, Andy, if this interests you at all, so we'll have Lily, or staff will register Lily for the event, and, if other committee members are interested, please let staff know by the end of this week, if that's fair. Enough direction for you.
I don't think we need a resolution.
Verbalize it when you're ready.
Yeah, so we'll have Lily attend the National Test Conference, and then if there's any other committee members interested, let me know. The deadline to get everyone registered is Friday, so if you could let me know by Wednesday, the 13th, end of day, if you're interested. If not, we'll have one person go, and that is all okay. You want us to go back to that?
Yeah, do we need a motion for that, or are you good with the way it is?
Okay, that we're good.
Okay. So yes, then we'll circle back to agenda item 8.3, and I think what we would look to do is, as noted, we would back out all the religious affiliated properties on the various schedule, if that makes sense. Courtney?
Mr. Chair, just for the written statement of disclosure, so I'm gonna have the committee member just identify which schedules it is that are being removed. I'll get that updated on this disclosure form and signed, and then the typical process is that the members verbally state their declaration before as well for the record. And then just as a heads up and as a training piece as well, our written disclosures are required to be on the website in our registry as well. So I'm gonna bring this back over, Mr. Chair, and just have that update. And then we can capture it in a motion or just based on the schedule. So that I see each property is nicely listed with a schedule and a letter.
Okay, bear with us, we'll work through this administratively.
One schedule.
Yeah. So if we would-
And I'm not sure,
Is
but I guess there's all of them are just the ones that are in by the integral and
schedule.
right, because that one in particular is in. Oh, okay. Yeah, and it probably doesn't matter, but it's the caution, it's like I want to be more cautious. Well, I did, yeah, and he said, yeah, I mean, we feel that definitely. I'm just going through everything and making sure, like I said, this one matters because it's owned by my employer. Right, so, but the other one, I think that's the only place to community, right? But I'm just going to know the double.
I don't know.
It's United, yeah. Morrison is United. Yeah, so this is the one. This. It's gonna be another one. And then I'm gonna go and double check with the guy, what's that guy? Yeah, just, I'll double check his email and just make sure that it's. Oh, no, this Duff's. Oh, Duff's, yeah, Duff's. I didn't know it was even on.
Sure. Okay, let's do this.
let's recess for about 10 minutes, just so that we can go through the report, so that we can identify those religious affiliated facilities, and we will reconvene at 2:12. Back, we'll return from recess. We'll call the meeting back to order at 2:13 p.m. I'll turn it over to Laura for a discussion on the agenda item 8.3, which is our heritage registry.
Right. Not the resolution.
So, if the committee member would like to verbalize their declaration, and then, we're splitting up the schedules into two sections, to enable you to participate in the majority of the discussion.
Thank you. So I, Christine O'Brien, member of the Heritage Committee, hereby declare a potential pecuniary interest September 11th, 2023, item number 8.3. The item title is Report HER 2023-017, Designation Process Update. I am employed by the Presbyterian Church in Canada and the director of Creek Hills Retreat Center, which presents a conflict with two local churches identified, Schedule E and Schedule L.
Good, thanks, Christine. So that'll be captured in the minutes. Laura, if you can walk us through our first resolution.
That staff report HER 2023-017 regarding heritage register designation report update be received for information. And that the priority property listing and supporting materials attached to this report, with the exceptions of schedules E and L, be endorsed for designation by the Heritage Advisory Committee and referred to council for consideration for intention to designate as amended.
One amendment, these are to also go to our heritage advisor or review.
And we can also say, and that the committee approves the report as amended, and that the statement be provided for technical review by the peer reviewer prior to being provided to council for consideration.
Yep, that's good. Are we clear on that? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll look for somebody to make that motion. Andy, seconder. Lily, thank you. All in support? Are you abstaining?
Sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Okay. Sorry, I was just looking for a
Yeah.
thumbs up. Okay,
Mhm.
Carried. Okay, and then the second resolution, which, Christine, you will be, omitting yourself from this discussion. So when you're ready, Laura.
That the priority property listing and supporting materials schedules E and L attached to this report be endorsed for designation by the Heritage Advisory Committee and be referred to council for consideration for intention to designate as amended. And that the committee approves the report as amended, and that the statements be provided for a technical review by the peer reviewer prior to being provided to council for consideration.
We have a mover, Lily, seconder, Andy. All in support? Carried. Thanks for, that was clear.
Mhm.
Thanks. Just tell me when you're ready. Okay. Any other new business arising from our discussion today? Okay, I have two minor add-ons, but don't cringe, these are quick. Just follow up on my notes from Lily's report. I think the one was examining the potential for a historical district within the municipality, and I think just my own perspective here is I think Morriston the various Queen Street properties as well as the, I'm not gonna get this right, but the Pioneer Cemetery right on the corner of, I believe it's Church Street. I think that's something that I think, not for today's conversation, but I don't want that to be missed in corporate history, so. I would just task staff, to identify that and in a subsequent report back to this committee at an appropriate time, because I don't know when that is. That may require some research and dedication, or even just a conversation with our historical consultant, what that may look like. So that was one. And the second one was a directory of resources, and I think my recommendation, and certainly build onto this, would be at the with like-minded municipalities at the county level. I'm curious if there is a directory of historical resources, and I'm thinking more along the line of companies that engage in historical construction projects and reclamation projects, if there are any opportunities. I think Lily had flagged one company that was based out of Dundas, I believe. So this is really good information not to miss. And so I'll just maybe request that staff at the township level correspond with your colleagues at the county and regional level to seek if there is a resource listing, and if not, report back. I just don't want to lose this type of corporate history, because if we have individuals or organizations in our municipality that are looking for guidance, I think as part of our support structure to help them on their heritage journey, I think this is really important information. You know, I can certainly say somebody's gone through construction projects in the past. If you run into a bunch of roadblocks, so it just adds to the time and frustration. And we want to encourage heritage designation, not discourage it through frustration. So I'll just stop there. I'm not sure if anybody had anything to add to those, but I think just coming out of your really robust report, Lily, I think I took 3 big action items for us out of this. Anything from the staff level? Is that clear enough for you?
We can take that as direction.
Okay,
So identify a potential historical district in the township and report back to the committee at a future date. And then correspond with the county and as well as at a regional level to see if there's a resource listing and report back to the committee at a future date. Is that?
yeah, I'll leave it to you guys to identify the right timelines, because you know that's just dumping stuff in your to-do list. But I just didn't want it to be lost. Anything else for new business? Anybody? You ready for a motion to adjourn? Is there anything else you need? Okay. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All right, thanks, Andy. And the seconder? All right, thanks, Christine. Any discussion? All right, Carrie? Now I'll call the meeting adjourned at 2:21 PM. All right, thanks, folks.